6 players to add to your fantasy baseball team this week. As usual, I've got 3 hitters and 3 pitchers, with one name from each category being more of a deep league guy. Let's start at the plate with outfielder Jasson Dominguez of the Yankees. I've already recommended him once this year when he was called up for his season debut in late April. He hit the IL less than 2 weeks later with a sprained shoulder after crashing into the outfield wall and wound up missing just over a month. He's back again now, though, and he should have a long runway to establish himself, with none of Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, or Trent Grisham set to return anytime soon. Dominguez's overall numbers in very limited big league action so far this year haven't been impressive, but one number does stand out: a 16% strikeout rate. Dominguez has been one of those 4-tool players you'll often see with everything in his bag but contact ability, the sort of player who could be a star if he starts making more contact, but who could become a pretty forgettable player if he doesn't. He had a 27% strikeout rate at the MLB level prior to this year, and while I doubt he'll maintain a 16% mark going forward, that's actually the exact same strikeout rate he had in the minors this season, so he might be able to keep it somewhere close. Dominguez has 18 homers and 29 steals in just shy of 600 plate appearances in his career, so if he can make enough contact to add a good batting average on top of that, he might live up to his potential after all. It feels like he's been around forever, but he's still just 23 years old, so I wouldn't put it past him to take a big step forward. Speaking of young hitters who feel like they've been around a long time but are still just 23, how about outfielder Jordan Lawlar of the Diamondbacks? Like Dominguez, he debuted back in 2023, and like Dominguez, contact concerns have prevented him from breaking through. For his career, he's hitting just 198 while striking out 31% of the time, though that's come in just 53 games. After his 2023 debut, injuries cost him almost all of 2024, and he only earned limited big league looks last season, though he did impress in September and was set to open this year as an everyday player. But he got hit by a pitch in early April and broke his wrist. He missed over 2 months, but he's healthy again and back in an everyday role. He's actually been starting in center field and pushing Ryan Waldschmidt to the bench. Lawlar has only played 11 big league games this season, but has shown real progress with his strikeout rate, which is cut to 23%. Again, like Dominguez, he's one of those 4-tool prospects, and if he can make enough contact to let his power and speed shine, he could be a star. If he doesn't, he might not even be an everyday player. He's a former 6th overall pick by the Diamondbacks, though, so I expect them to give him every chance to prove himself, especially with no other proven outfielders on the roster other than Corbin Carroll. For those of you in deeper leagues, take a look at shortstop Cooper Pratt of the Brewers. He's a relatively high-ranked prospect, coming in at number 70 on RotoWire's top 400 prospect rankings. He also signed a pre-debut extension back in March. That means you might want to look his way in shallower leagues as well, though for now, I'd probably look elsewhere unless you're specifically searching for steals. Pratt should offer plenty of those. He stole 1 base already in his second career big league game earlier this week after swiping 17 bags in 58 minor league games this year. He had 31 in 120 games last year and 27 in just 96 games in 2024. Beyond the speed, though, I'm not sure there's enough in Pratt's bat for him to make a big impact in shallower formats. He's hit just 241 with a modest 6 homers in AAA this year. He hit 238 with just 8 homers in AA last season. Pratt does make a lot of contact with strikeout rates of 15 and 14% the last 2 years, and he could grow into more power too. He's actually 6'4". The long-term future looks pretty bright for the 21-year-old, but for now, I do expect a below-average bat overall. That means you'll likely have better options in shallower leagues, but in deeper leagues, his speed and his apparent everyday role at shortstop should make Cooper Pratt pretty useful. Injury returns are the theme of this week, apparently, as we'll start the pitching section with Mick Abel of the Twins, who's set to return to the injured list this Sunday after missing 2 months with elbow inflammation. Prior to his injury, the results were great or they were mixed, depending on how you look at it. Overall, it was just a 3.98 ERA and a 1.57 whip in 20 1/3 innings, but consider the context. His first outing was a rare long relief appearance in the opening series for a pitcher who's only ever worked as a starter. His second outing was a bitterly cold early April start up in Minneapolis. All 9 of the runs he's allowed this season came in those 2 outings. He followed that up with a pair of scoreless starts in which he struck out 16 and walked just 3 in 13 innings. He's also given up just 1 run in 8 innings while on rehab, striking out 10 and walking none. That sure makes it seem like the elbow issue isn't affecting him anymore. Abel was a first-round pick by the Phillies back in 2020, but struggled for much of his time in the minors. He's always had good stuff and good strikeout rates. It's just been a struggle to show consistent command. That command did take something of a step forward last year, though, and it's looked good this year outside of those first 2 outings. You're still very much betting on potential and not track record with Abel if you pick him up, but he's still just 24 years old, so that's a bet worth making. If you need saves, Jacob Webb of the Cubs should be able to help you out for at least a few weeks. Cubs closer Daniel Palencia hit the IL for the 2nd time this season on Tuesday, this time due to elbow inflammation, and it was Webb who earned the save the very next day. It was actually his 2nd save of the year. He also had one in early May when Palencia was out with a lat strain. Palencia actually has 3 trips to the IL in the last 4 months of regular season play. At this point, there are pretty serious questions about Palencia's ability to stay healthy, so what looks like a temporary shot to close games could turn into a permanent closing gig for someone in Chicago, and based on Webb getting that save chance Wednesday, he's the best bet to be that guy, and based on his numbers, that's true as well. He has a 3.13 ERA this season, a near match for his 3.06 SIERA. He struck out 27% of batters while walking just 7%. He's been very consistent the last few years, an ERA of 3.00 last year and 3.02 the year before that. He's also the highest leverage righty in the Cubs bullpen this year after Palencia, according to Leverage Index, and I bet he gets the job over fellow righty Phil Maton, as well as lefties Caleb Thielbar and Hobie Milner, who both have a save this season. Finally, for deeper leagues, take a look at Ian Seymour of the Rays, who had a bit of sleeper buzz in draft season as either a starter or a member of a closer committee after he posted a 3.63 ERA and a 1.18 whip in 57 innings as a rookie swingman last season. But he wound up missing out on a rotation spot and was stuck in a bullpen where Brian Baker basically became a true closer. The Rays, however, recently moved Steven Matz to the bullpen, and Seymour has stepped into his rotation spot. Seymour still isn't fully built up. He followed an opener his last time out and threw just 3 1/3 innings, but it's a good time to grab him now before he's really starting to turn heads and it's too late. Seymour's overall numbers this year are pretty mediocre with a 4.93 ERA and a 1.28 whip, though his 25% strikeout rate is only narrowly behind last year's 26% mark. The big question is his control. Last year he had an 8% walk rate, but this year it's all the way up at 12%. He's not someone who had big control issues in the minors the last couple of seasons, though, and his location plus is only slightly below average at 97. If he can get the walks back down while keeping the above-average strikeout rate, Seymour could be pretty interesting the rest of the year, and the Rays are one of the teams I'd trust most to help him figure things out. That's it for this week's set of pickups. Let me know in the comments who you are looking to add to your fantasy baseball roster.